How's it going, guys? It's CryptoBud here for today. We got a flash announcement here with Ethereum. If you were on the Twitter channel, you probably have seen this one right here a couple of times. Now, I want to talk about Ethereum real quick because as an investor and as a trader, Ethereum is one of those that has a lot of news and it's got a lot of fundamental pieces to that. So this graph is going to be on a 30-day Ethereum chart. Looking at probably I think about a month or two out. Now, in my last episode, I was talking about the Elliott waves, and sometimes you can do is you can combine those with the existing technicals that we have here. So I'm going to take a leap of faith on this one. I normally don't like to look at patterns, specifically like the way I'm looking at right now in isolation, just because the patterns are very subjective, first of all, and the second thing is sometimes they're not reliable. However, it does give you a glimpse into the future as far as what the price is going to look like. So what I'm going to talk about right now is Ethereum about to break out? And so what I'm going to do right now is pound my fist on the table, and I'm going to make a call here for myself, where I'm going to, in a way, predict a potential price break. And the reason we're going to do that is because Ethereum right now is showing a classic bull sign of an inverted head and shoulders formation. Now, for those guys who don't know what that is, if you take a look at this specific chart, and I picked this specific one because on the 30-minute you're getting a lot more data versus doing the 1 day. So you're starting to see the price patterns and the price movement. There's a little bit of noise going on here, but the pattern is actually fairly obvious. Chart patterns like this don't really occur, are not that reliable 100%. They're usually, I'd say, maybe a 60-70% reliability, but for me that's good enough because it's still over a 50%. So it's better than a coin flip, I guess you want to talk about it. So here's the thing, where we're at with Ethereum right now is Ethereum has been on a downtrend since that last pop that we got on the 12th. And what I mean by that is if you take a look at it, it hasn't really, it's making lower highs and it's making lower lows. So it's stuck in this like trading band. So to someone who looks at this pattern, they're like, wait a minute, I'm not going to invest in Ethereum because it's not an uptrend like it was right here. And that's a fair gamble. The problem here is that Ethereum will eventually go back up because number one, nothing always goes down forever. And the second reason is that as the price begins to lose its momentum, it begins to form these patterns that usually can indicate a reversal. So the inverted head and shoulders formation is one of those. It's when there is a major trend break in the price of Ethereum or any sort of coin. So let's take a look at what happened here on the 12th. The 12th, we got this kind of price action here. We got a lot of volatility. So this stuff right here that you're getting a lot of jagged, that's noise that you can either trade, but I don't really consider it worth my time just because the swings and the commissions, all of that, they'll eat you up alive. Then you got this huge dip. This was actually an opportunity to pick up Ethereum, and when it got down to about 280, 290. Now, notice carefully, it didn't really last that long. It probably lasted maybe a couple of hours at the most, and it was all isolated in 1 day. So if you did not trade for that day, you missed out on that perfectly good buying opportunity. And if you remember from the last video I did, I kind of saw everything kind of going down, but again, I mean, you needed to kind of start picking up Ethereum here, and most people didn't. I mean, I kind of got in a little bit in there, but not enough to make sure it was a good position. Now, after that move, we started bouncing back up, and now we're stuck in this trend. So the first question you want to ask is this going to be a trend reversal? Now, the other indication I'm going to tell you is that if you kind of flip this picture upside down, you're going to see that it's an inverted head and shoulders because it's got this kind of shoulder pattern right here. You see these three pieces that hits that trend line, and then you've got this little this piece here that's kind of touching upon it. It's not a perfect head and shoulders that you would find in a classic textbook, technical analysis book, but for me, it looks like it's close enough that the probabilities of it bouncing higher are high. Now, if I'm wrong, and this is not a head and shoulders formation, which is definitely possible, then we're going to be continuing to go lower. Okay, now here's the thing, guys. When you're looking at these type of patterns, right, it's very subjective because some people can argue that this is not a head and shoulders. If you get too technical, you're gonna start basically thinking about it another way. So what I want you to do is think about Ethereum's price action. If you were the one buying or selling Ethereum, what does this graph tell you? Okay, this graph tells me one thing, is that the buyers are stepping in here when it gets down to that 280. So at the minimum, you're going to get some sort of support right here. Whenever you get this type of price action where it snaps back like that, that means you got a lot of buyers waiting to pick up Ethereum under 300 bucks. So your downside losses in this case is going to be from 365 to 300, which is a pretty good amount of maybe 20 and 30% drop, which is what happened last time. It was a 20% drop, 20 and plus and change. And all of a sudden it went back up in one day. Now, however, your upside now is where I'm interested in. So if you take a look at this, your shoulder one, it'll be right here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of see if I can kind of, I can't quite do this right here. So shoulder one would be right there. Shoulder two would be somewhere along this line. And so if you want to be really, really technical about this, you can kind of make the case that this area here is going to be shoulder. And so what you're going to have here is that kind of head and shoulders formation that we're seeing. And so technically speaking, Ethereum has a potential at this point to break out. Now, the other thing I want to mention here, guys, is that if you zoom in a little bit on the 30-minute, let me just go ahead and draw this other piece here. You're going to find that you got the same pattern right here, this dip, this consolidation, and then now we're kind of heading a little bit higher. So this thing has like two head and shoulders formations coming in. And also, if you actually draw the trend line, let me see if I can do that real quick. You can see that it's got this, it's trying to hit this top line right here at $360, and you could see that it's making higher lows. So at some point, the buyers are basically saying this, is that I'm picking up these lows here and we keep on peaking at 360. And right now on the 30-minute, it looks like it kind of broke out to 363. So what you want to do is you want to look at those two types of patterns, and the volume is pretty low here, which indicates that the sellers, there's not enough sellers here to dump this thing down the toilet. So if I were to make an educated guess or some sort of bet here, is that in the short term, Ethereum is going to make a stab back at 400. Okay, because that was the last high that was established back up here. So it's got a little bit of resistance at 380, and then it's going to start popping up back to 400. And if that's the case, then we're going to be back up in a new uptrend. And so that one could last maybe a week, 2 weeks, maybe. So if you're looking at that trend reversal, that's what I'm putting my money on at this point. So two things you can play out. You can wait for this to peak out to see if it actually confirms, or two, you can just start adding position right now and then ride it for the next 2 weeks. I don't know. I mean, it could be a complete disaster and this thing could go down again. I mean, who knows, right? However, with the upcoming news coming out, and you could start kind of adding to this position right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of make that call. Okay. All right, guys. So let's kind of recap a little bit here, and let's just kind of swing back on the Ethereum chart. So I'm gonna go to the Ethereum BTC real quick, and let me show you what's happening on this side. Okay. All right. So on the BTC chart, if you kind of remember, Ethereum is stuck in this kind of really narrow band trading range. So I'm gonna go ahead and lower this a little bit here, just to kind of show you guys a couple of things. Okay, so what's happening here is on the BTC chart, we're seeing a little different picture. Okay, now usually what happens is that you want to look at the BTC chart just because it's the one that most people trade into from Bitcoin. However, I like to use the USD because anybody who's purchasing Ethereum usually has to go through Coinbase and whatnot. And any sort of currency from fiat to Ethereum, I mean, you still get people from Bitcoin, but you want to look at both charts to kind of compare where the strength is. So if you're holding Bitcoin, it looks even better on this one. The consolidation range is right here. Now you guys can see this head and shoulders formation right here that happened. You see this? Okay, you see how it kind of broke off right there? Okay, that's a head and shoulders. Now you could kind of say that here's the shoulder, here's shoulder one, here's shoulder two, broke off, and then it would continue on. So after it broke off through this neckline, it actually ran up a little bit. Okay. Now again, these type of patterns, and here's actually taking a look at this one. You could see that we're in a downtrend, but we're stuck in this channel between 0.13, and so my guess on it's going to start popping up a little bit past here and potentially breaking out. But I mean, again, we don't really know that. All we know is that the chances here of it moving higher become a little bit more probable. Okay, so here is what I'm looking at. See this little piece right here? That's what I'm looking for. Ethereum is that continuation of that, which we got something similar here, and then moving all the way up to that top channel. As you can see, volume is definitely picking up right here, and we have exhausted all the sellers down here. So we got that nice capitulation, which basically forced out all the sellers out, and then now we've got this nice move on the upside. Same thing would happen here is that the volume increased, and then all of a sudden the sellers began to run out, and the buyers stepped in to pick up the coin. And then we've got another kind of, but you can see the volume actually is a lot lower. Okay, all right, so with that said, basically what I'm trying to say here, guys, is Ethereum looks real good at this point, at least in the short term. I'm going to try to think about what I'm going to do in terms of my portfolio. But if you are in Ethereum, I'd say hold steady. Again, this is a disclaimer where I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. I'm not a financial advisor, but again, Ethereum looks real good. The news coming out in the next couple of months is going to be positive, as well as they're having some events going on. So fundamentally, we have some sort of catalyst going forward. And again, I look at 70% technical, 30% fundamental. So Ethereum's fundamentals have not changed. Ethereum's events are going to help propel it, and on the technical side is giving us a little bit of a preview of what the probabilities are of it moving higher. Now again, it is not a 100% guarantee that's going to move, so just keep that in mind. And so if I take the loss, I take the loss, right? That's just basically how investing and trading works. I do have Ethereum as my long-term holding. So I'm really considering either moving some assets away from existing positions that I have that have done well, and then increasing the Ethereum position a little bit in the short term. And in these specific cases, if you guys remember, I usually like to equally weight everything. So with Ethereum, I like to kind of, let's just say, based off these technicals, I like to kind of position myself in case there's a large move. Okay, all right, guys, Crypto Bud out. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one, and hopefully you guys find success.